Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. I am still sitting here in amazement with what I watched last night. Conor, Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr. Let me say this. I did not expect that fight to play out the way it did. I did a video on pros and cons, and I got it pretty close. But I just didn't expect Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, both of them be able to up it. If you follow the channel, you know I talk about two elite fighters or two fighters that are pretty evenly matched. One fighter will show the ability to up it, and that makes the difference in the fight. And although Chris Eubank Jr., I think, upped it when it counted, Conor Benn was able to up it in that fight. And there is no loser. Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, that shit was like a Hollywood movie. That was like something scripted. Like you swear there was a camera crew out there, and this was a movie. Like this, the way everything played out, the way they promoted the fight, the build up. I'm talking about going back to the first Conor Benn Eubank Jr. fight that never happened. You had the drama, the storyline. You had the bad, you had the evil character in Conor Benn that was on the beds. Eddie Hearn keeping his name out there, trying to get him fights and fighting the British border, the British Boxing Board of Control. WBC involved, talking about Conor Benn was on eggs. Conor Benn saying he's on eggs. Chris Eubank Jr. calling him a cheat. Chris Eubank Jr. out here fighting. He's a top-ranked fighter. He's a top contender, but Chris Eubank Jr. is not a real champion. But he's there. You know what I'm saying? The stuff with Chris Eubank Jr. losing his brother, him and his dad not seeing eye to eye, Conor Benn, his dad, Eddie Hearn, coming trying to run with that and talking about his dad doesn't even like him, and it's really like a Hollywood movie, like a real soap opera, a drama. And I just have to say this, man. The way Chris Eubank Sr. and Jr. pulled up to the fight in a Rolls Royce, and when the door opened, Chris Eubank Sr. posed for the camera. Y'all telling me that wasn't WWE-ish? That wasn't Hollywood? You know, that wasn't red carpet-esque? The fight hadn't even started yet. And I'm like, man, even watching Billy Joe Saunders trying to get into the dressing room and the theatrics taking place back there, I'm like, man, it was just non-stop. But once those boys put them gloves on and you saw Eubank Jr. throw over 1,000 punches in 12 rounds and you saw Conor Benn throw 600, you always hear me say on this channel, fighters have to be careful they don't get outthrown. It ain't even about outlanding. If you get outthrown, it can create the perception to the judges that you're losing. Now, I do think Chris Eubank Jr. won the fight. I think at the end of the fight, I had it like 9-3 or 8-4. That's what I had it. But those rounds, you see, when you a person can say, "Oh man, Hood champion, your scorecard is wide. That's because you were picking Eubank Jr. to win." Nah, anyone who knows me know I'm not like that. I don't have a favorite fighter. I did think Eubank Jr. would win. I wanted him to win because Conor Benn and his past with the cheating and stuff like that. But I'll be honest with you. From this day forward, I am not going to say anything negative about Conor Benn. And I don't think anyone else should. When you fight like that, there's a certain amount of respect that should be afforded to the fighter. And that performance from Conor Benn, to me, it erased all whatever bad he may have done in the past. Because he fought that fight and he was clean and he performed like that. Now, don't get me wrong. That wasn't Conor Benn fighting a prime Gennady Golovkin. He was fighting Chris Eubank Jr. But still, the way he fought, that shit's fight of the year. That ain't just a fight of the year fight. That's a fight that's gonna be talked about forever. Like, I watched Arturo Gatti Mickey Ward 3 times. I watched Andre Berto, Victor Ortiz. I watched all the Fury Wilder fights, especially that third one, the Serrano fights. I watched a lot of boxing matches, all of Mayweather fights, all of Cotto's fights. I've watched all of Sugar Ray Leonard's fights, all of Julian Jackson's fights, all of Larry Holmes' fights, all of George Foreman's fights. I saw all of De La Hoya's fights, all of Trinidad's fights, all of Mosley's fights. And I watched the Obakars and those guys. I watched a lot of different fights. I'll be honest with you. You just don't get many fighters when you bring the two of them together who can create that magic that Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn created. I've seen the Morales and Pacquiao. I've seen the Barrera and Morales. I've seen Juan Manuel Marquez mix it up with most of those guys. I've seen all them fights. Those are, classics. But there was a type of magic that took place in there yesterday, man. And you know what I think the both of them really fought like that? Talk about fighting for your last name. Like, they were really fighting for their last names. Because I'll be honest with you, Conor Benn had every opportunity to quit in that fight. Eubank Jr. had every opportunity to quit. I don't think anyone would have had an issue if Conor Benn would have took a knee in round 11 or 12. I don't think anybody would have had an issue for that round where Eubank Jr. got hit with that left hook, like the fourth round by Conor Benn. If he would have took a knee, if round 6 or 7 that Eubank Jr. would have taken a knee. Like, there were rounds where Eubank Jr., I thought he was going to collapse. I said, shit, Eubank Jr. is not looking good. And we knew that. I just put it this way. He had every right to take a knee. He didn't take a knee. He pushed through the adversity. He pushed through hell to get the win. Conor Benn didn't take a knee. He pushed through adversity, pushed through hell. Although he lost, many people felt that he won. Some felt it was a draw. I thought Eubank Jr. was able to up it a bit more. But when you look at it, right, and Eubank Sr. saying they're ruining the fighters like Conor Benn. Initially, when the fight was happening, I was like, you know what? Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, they're going to win financially because they're making good money. But really, it's the promoters that win because these gentlemen are getting in the ring and beating years off of their life. And the promoters aren't taking any shots. And so I had a bit of an issue with that. And then when I was watching, I said, you know what? Conor Benn, he really going to stand a chance. Then I saw the pre-fight weigh-in where Eubank Jr. weighed in over 160. Now, this is what I thought was a little shady. Because to me, all the cards were stacked in the favor of Conor Benn. Eubank Jr., of course, he agreed to this, but fights at 160, a weight he really shouldn't be at. You saw him have to damn near kill himself. I was referring to him as the Walking Dead. Damn near kill himself to get down to 160. Still didn't make it. He weighed on 160.02, I think was the closest he came to it. So that was in Conor's favor. The gloves were horsehair padded. Those were in Conor's favor. The ring was very small. Those were in Conor's favor. Conor Benn had his dad. I mean, even the referee last night, he talked more to Eubank Jr. than to Conor Benn. Even Eubank Jr. is there and he's battling Eddie Hearn. You look at the scale, you're telling me that they made sure that scale wasn't calibrated properly. You know what I'm saying? They did everything they could, Eddie Hearn, to make Eubank Jr. as uncomfortable as possible to give Conor Benn all the advantages in the world to where Conor Benn could come out and get a victory. And it just didn't work out the way they tried to structure it. And I don't blame Conor Benn for anything. I blame Eddie Hearn. But I do feel that although Conor Benn, and for the next few generations of Benns, if they do their money right, nobody has to do anything. Conor Benn changed his life and his future generation of Benns' lives forever. Eubank Jr. did the same thing. Turkey al-Sheikh, we know when Turkey's in the house every day is Thanksgiving. He put up the dough. But what's the downside to Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn taking that fight? Conor Benn fought above 147. He passed up on a title opportunity against Mario Barrios. I'll be honest with you. If the way Benn fought last night, him against Mario Barrios, I don't know how that goes. I'll just tell you this. I wouldn't be surprised if Benn wins. Benn was firing on all cylinders. But he passed up, bubbled up in weight, and he got touched up pretty good in that fight. Makes you wonder. They're talking about a rematch. I don't think they should have a rematch. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn should rematch. I think they should relax and not rematch. It just taking years off of their boxing careers. A fight like that, extremely violent and brutal, can retire you. So that was one fight. Look at Fury and Deontay Wilder. They had 3 fights. The first one wasn't too bad. That second and third one. But they took a pound of flesh out of each other in all 3 fights. But in particular, I would say that first one, that third one. The second one, Wilder got a pound of flesh taken out of him. In that second one and third one for sure. And the first one and third one, Fury got a pound of flesh taken out of him. Neither one of those guys have looked the same after fighting each other. No, you take Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. That shit was maximum violence. Gotta excuse me, I'm tired. I'm about to go to bed. I just want to get this video in. Now you look at Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. To have them go in there and fight each other again. I know, I get the money. I get it. But I just think, as far as Conor Benn going through something like that, even if he wins, you know the fight's going to be brutal. And then to try to come back down to 147, I just don't think Conor Benn will be able to perform, because there's a lot that gets beaten out of you when you take the kind of shots he was taking. And for Chris Eubank Jr., There's a lot that comes out of you when you dehydrate yourself to a point to where your organs are about to shut down. Then you get in the ring and you just can't move around because you're fighting in a phone booth, and you're in there and you got somebody who's just hitting you with everything he has and hurting you round after round after round. So even for Chris Eubank Jr., rematch or no rematch with Conor Benn, him fighting at 160, I don't see it. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. is going to beat anybody at 160. I just don't. And I'm being honest with you. I just think that fight last night, with the money they made, it's almost like Earl Spence and Crawford. Earl Spence was doing all right before Crawford. He fought Crawford, both them dudes made like 40, 50 million apiece, something like that. Oh, Spence made like 40, 50. Crawford probably made more like 35, 40. They made some dough. Spence don't have to fight again, but I think it's because of the damage he took. When I watch these two, I just think if they fight again, the two fights together, cumulatively, as far as the punishment, could be something that they just can't get beyond. But as far as the cockleholes out there that's saying the fight was scripted, how was the fight scripted? I tell you what, it was a perfectly scripted fight then. How about that? You want to call it scripted? Okay, it was a perfectly scripted fight. Or a perfectly unscripted fight. However you want to say it. People say anything. You telling me, how the hell can you script what we saw last night? There was nothing scripted about that. I'll tell you what, man. That is what fans want to see. I hear these people talking about the best need to fight the best. Nah, man. You need to see fighters fight. And there was boxing taking place last night. You saw all styles. You saw the boxer, the boxer puncher. You saw the counter puncher. You saw the brawler. You saw the free swinger. You saw even the Shakir Stevenson, the boxer runner. You saw, you didn't see that. No one ran in there. You saw everything in there last night. You saw everything. Every style of fighting was in there last night. It even got super physical and ugly at times. You saw everything in there. But for me, I just got to say, job well done to Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. That shit was Hollywood. That shit was Hollywood. They should make a movie out of this. Do a documentary. I mean, that fight was, I'm still sitting here in awe. I didn't think Conor Benn had that kind of shit in him. I ain't gonna lie. When the fight first started, I was like, damn, he may be back on the cocktail. Because they didn't let you know where he was working out of in Brazil and who was his dietitian, who was his nutritionist, you know what I'm saying? Who was his strength and conditioning coach. Like, they're not really giving you those little nuggets of information. As a result, causes the mind to wander. Mind normally doesn't wander in a positive direction. It goes negative. So for me, when I saw him in the ring, and so damn his reaction time and his reflexes and the power and speed, I said, shit. He looking like the Conor Benn that damn near killed Algieri. How? How did he do that? Because he ain't look like that guy in the last few fights, but he's coming off inactivity too. And he was able to fire off of all cylinders. But you saw as the fight went on, Conor Benn was just in shape. He's just been working. And he's a guy who turned his negative into a positive. Remember, I don't have nothing to say about the no more egg jokes, no more Conor hen, cluck, cluck, cluck. That's over. The way that guy fought, I have nothing but respect for him and Eubank Jr. Nothing but respect for them. That was amazing. I tell you what, they set the bar really high. You see this weekend coming up with Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, Ramirez, and Teofimo and Barbosa. The bar's been set extremely high for them to come and perform subsequent to what we just saw this weekend. I'm telling y'all right now, none of them are gonna fight like that. It's not gonna happen. Ryan Garcia and Rolly could get a little interesting. Teofimo ain't slugging nothing out. Devin, I doubt's gonna try to slug anything out. What we saw was something historic. Was like a legacy fight. Like that's gonna be something talked about, not just British boxing, but of course British boxing. But I think boxing in general for many years to come. And you know what? And I'm gonna say that especially because it's tied to their dads. Eubank Jr. was fighting like his dad, and Conor Benn was fighting like his dad. It's almost like we were thrown back 35 years and just watching Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. fighting again. That's really what it reminded me of. You know what I'm saying? It was that good of a fight. Anyway, I have nothing to say, nothing negative. Word on the street is Eubank Jr.'s jaw wasn't broken, but he was dehydrated after the fight. He went to the doctor just to be, to err on the side of caution, make sure he was all right. Conor Benn's good, just a little bit emotionally distraught, but he's okay. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, I still see some bozos out here on social media, and as you can tell, they're just either young people or they wake up and eat bowls of dumbass for breakfast. Still saying negative stuff about Conor Benn and Eubank Jr., stuff about Senior and Nigel. People just have nothing better to be negative. I'm telling you right now, I have not. I like to make jokes and shit. I have nothing negative to say about Conor Benn. Nothing at all to say about Eubank Jr. Nothing about Eubank Senior. Nothing about Nigel Benn. I have Eddie Hearn. I could always have something to say about that prick. But these other guys, nothing. Absolutely amazing, man. My hat goes off to him, man. Talk about just two guys being in a raging fight, very much like when their fathers fought. And I just don't know if there's anyone else that's going to be able to replicate that shit. That's already fight of the year. That may be one of them you can put up for fight of the decade. That shit was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, keep cool. I don't think there should be a rematch. Nah, man, leave it alone. It ain't even about the Eubanks, in 3 fights. Winning 2, drawing 1, and the Benns losing 2, drawing 1. It's over. They all deserve respect. And to be honest with you, if they fought again, maybe Benn beats them. But I do think, before I end this video, I do think the playing field is pretty level. Because Benn did have to come up in weight. He had to come up. And then Eubank Jr. had to come down. That's only fair. The rehydration clause, as much as I don't like him, it's kind of fair because, Benn can't get up to 180 pounds. Eubank Jr., after the second day weigh-in, 170, he rehydrated to over 180 pounds. So he had Benn by like 15 pounds or something inside the ring because Benn weighed in at like 160 something. So Eubank Jr. was up in the 80s. So it was as close and fair as you could make it without Eubank Jr. just coming in there just with a full gas tank. And he probably would have just ran. I ain't going to say he would have ran through Conor Benn, but he probably would have been able to hurt him more and have more sting on his punches. And he definitely wouldn't have burnt out so quick like he did. You saw the fatigue started showing up after like round 4 or 5. He just went low energy. And then he was able to get the second wind and have a spurt here and there. But it's amazing to see him be able to push through that shit knowing he was exhausted. His body was exhausted, his legs, everything, the fatigue set in. And I'm going to tell you, man, for those of you it just ain't even about boxing. But I was training for a fight. And I remember this girl I was dating, we used to go to the gym. And I would run for like an hour. Then I get on the stair climber. Y'all know what the stair climber is, right? You just keep the stairs. So I'm on the machine holding the handlebars and just going up the stairs. And I did that for like an hour. And when I came off of that, and before that I hit the heavy bag for like 8 3-minute rounds in shadow box. So I did all that cardio after already doing a boxing workout. And when I was trying to walk out the gym, my body was shaking. My body was shaking. And she kind of grabbed me around my waist and she held on. She's like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yes," but my body's shaking. She saw while I was walking, I was trembling. And she was like, "You worked yourself to a point of exhaustion." I was like, "I don't know. I've never had this happen to me." But when I watched Eubank Jr. trying to make weight, it made me think about that. And how I used to be able to, when I was younger, I could work myself to a point of exhaustion to where my whole body would be shaking and trembling. And I used to do this on an empty stomach because you burn more fat on an empty belly. So that probably didn't help. And also, I talked about in another video about being dehydrated and on a fight week for me and not being able to fight because it felt like my brain was bouncing off of my skull. But when I watch Eubank Jr. and go through 12 rounds against that monster Conor Benn, because Conor Benn was a monster in that ring, it just makes me respect him that much more, man. Because I'm telling y'all, it's easy if you've never boxed to look at that and critique and ridicule what they both did. I'm telling you, man, it takes a certain mentality to push through that. That shit is not easy. Them guys deserve a lot of respect. I have nothing negative to say. Unless Conor Benn comes out and does something stupid again, I'll talk about that. But for me, all's forgiven. You know what I'm saying? When you perform like that. And for Eubank Jr., yo, I gotta salute that cat, man. Absolutely amazing fight. I have nothing negative to say. Nothing. They don't deserve a rematch. They deserve to relax. So y'all hold your horses and let's stop taking it to the stupid. Keep cool. I'm in the breeze.